There's no magic line between an application and an operating system that some bureaucrat in Washington should draw. It's like saying that as of 1932, cars didn't have radios in them, but they should never have radios in them. There are two numbers you need to know about climate change. The first is 51 billion. The other is 0. 51 billion is how many tons of greenhouse gases the world typically adds to the atmosphere every year. But I hope you'll spend more time and energy supporting whatever you're in favor of than opposing whatever you're against. Whatever other resources you may have, you can always use your voice and your vote to affect change. I studied everything but never topped. Today, the toppers of the best universities are my employees. Remember that we need to find solutions for all 5 activities that emissions come from. Making things, plugging in, growing things, getting around, and keeping cool, the warm. In other words, by mid-century, climate change could be just as deadly as COVID-19, and by 2100, could be 5 times as deadly. There's one last way we can cut down on emissions from the food we eat, by wasting less of it. In Europe, industrialized parts of Asia and sub-Saharan Africa, more than 20% of food is simply thrown away, allowed to rot, or otherwise wasted. In the United States, it's 40%. That's bad for people who don't have enough to eat, bad for the economy, and bad for the climate. When wasted food rots, it produces enough methane to cause as much warming as 3.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. Well, I went for a ride, but I didn't find my car. It may sound old-fashioned, but letters and phone calls to your elected officials can have a real impact. Business is a money game with few rules and a lot of risk. The world uses more than 4 billion gallons every day. When you're using any product at that kind of volume, you can't simply stop overnight. In my view, investing in public libraries is an investment in the nation's future. If you want to understand the kind of damage that climate change will inflict, look at COVID-19 and then imagine spreading the pain out over a much longer period of time. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day, and overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. In this business, by the time you realize you are in trouble, it's too late to save yourself. Unless you're running scared all the time, you're gone. Times with follow-up questions. Eventually it sank in. The world needs to provide more energy so the poorest can thrive. But we need to provide that energy without releasing any more greenhouse gas. Now the problem seemed even harder. It wasn't enough to deliver cheap, reliable energy for the poor. It also had to be clean.